Coming up on No Pulp, the coronavirus has infected numerous sports. We'll tell you how the NCAA is impacted.
We'll also break down which teams on the bubble should be in the field and who should be popped.
Plus our conference tournament picks. Get ready, because No Pulp starts right now.
What's up, party people?
He has finally silenced the doubters once and for all.
Small schools can jump up and beat these big teams.
That offense is going to be fantastic.
I am ready to go to battle.
With a quote from John Rothstein, this is March, Max.
Baby.
Conference tournaments are off and running. Selection Sunday, less than a week away. And I, as always, have no idea who the national champion will be. But who cares? Welcome to No Pulp. I'm Owen Valentine. That's Max Chadwick. We've got endless things to talk about tonight, starting with a health issue. First and foremost, as the coronavirus spreads, there have been many concerns regarding its impact on athletics, especially after earlier today, Italy canceled all sporting events for the rest of the month. The NCAA says there will be no major changes to the national tournament, but that doesn't mean there's no impact from the growing concerns.
This is going to be a big impact. Right now, there's 4 games in Spokane, Washington. It's one of the most infected areas in the country. Currently 18 deaths with 136 total cases of coronavirus. They say business as usual, but it may not be business as usual once March Madness rolls around.
Yeah, Max. And last week, the National Players Association released a statement, and it was pretty intriguing. In the wake of the emerging coronavirus pandemic, the NCAA and its colleges should take precautions to protect college athletes. In regard to the NCAA's March Madness tournament and other athletic events, there should be a serious discussion about holding competitions without an audience present. The NCAA and its colleges must act now. There's no time to waste. Now, you've seen other sports like the NBA and the NHL take away media access to the locker rooms. What do you think the NCAA should do, if anything?
I think they should do whatever they are advised to do. I don't think they should say, you know what, let's just take a chance on it. You cannot take a chance with this coronavirus. I think you should have the player safety, the coach's safety, the fans' safety at your top of your priority list. Even if it means no fans at March Madness, would be so weird. But if it means that everyone is safe, that's what's most important.
Yeah, exactly. Do whatever it takes to make sure this is a safe tournament, make sure the players are safe, make sure you're not adding anything to the pot that doesn't need to be there. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the next week.
We have to move on to the major story going down in Lexington. Kentucky guard Ashton Hagans sat out Saturday's game against Florida due to personal reasons. After the game, Coach Calipari told reporters that Hagans told him he was in, quote, a bad way. Calipari cited the immense pressure every Kentucky player is under between classes, practice, and the fact that every Kentucky game is treated like it's a Super Bowl in Lexington. While Hagans sat out Saturday, Calipari expects him to be back on Friday for the SEC quarterfinals, but he said the decision is ultimately up to Hagans. Owen, if he does sit out for an extended period of time, how big of an impact is this for the Wildcats?
Well, it's such a big impact because of how good of a player that Hagans is.
Right.
He's averaging 11 points per game, really good defender, really good distributor with 6 assists per game. He really helps facilitate that Kentucky offense. But I would just want to tip my cap to Calipari to kind of handle this the way he did, saying the mental health of my players is the most important thing possible, and you saw that tweet. And to see what Hagans quote tweeted that, saying, let's get this, fellas, love y'all boys, be back and better than ever. It kind of shows that the system worked, and I hope this sets a precedent for future players, if you are struggling with mental health, to take that time to make sure that you're there on the court and off the court.
Absolutely, no one. These guys are like professional athletes right now. They're 20. Ashton Hagans is 20 years old, and he's being treated like a professional athlete. He's under so much pressure right now. Mental health is a serious issue. It's not like a physical bodily injury where you know the timetable for recovery. You don't know the timetable for recovery. I want Ashton Hagans to get his mind right, and then hopefully he can get back for Kentucky as soon as possible. But make sure his mind is right, because you never know with this. Calipari is playing this perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of importance for the conference tournament for Kentucky, vying for a #1 seed in the national tournament. But at the end of the day, you need to do what puts you in the best chance for yourself and puts you in the best position to be as healthy as you possibly can. Max, last show, on a bit of a change of pace, we kind of talked about our national champion. And you picked Kansas, which still looks like a great choice.
Right.
My pick was Baylor, and they were both looking pretty strong for a while, but the last week or two, things kind of went south. Baylor drops 3 of its last 5. What's gone wrong for the Bears?
A lot has gone wrong for these Bears, and they're not shooting well right now. They lost to TCU, who is not a good team at all. The last thing you want to be in March is cold.
Yeah.
And losing 3 of your last 5 is exactly that. Not only are they cold, but losing 3 of your last 5 probably pushes them from a 1 seed to a 2 seed right now. However, this all sounds bad. I think they're fine. I still think this is a Final Four caliber team. That defense for the Bears is legit.
You mentioned that you don't want to go cold into a conference tournament, into the
Right.
national tournament, and that's exactly what Baylor was. In the loss to West Virginia, in the loss to TCU, they shot 12% lower than their season average from beyond the arc. They averaged 7.7 threes per game. They hit only 4 in each of those 2 losses. That was one of the big reasons that they fell behind, in my opinion, and it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back, because 2 of those losses are pretty excusable. You lose to number 1 Kansas and a ranked West Virginia team. That TCU loss, I mean, you started off 24-1. Maybe you can fit a bad loss in there once, but I don't think it's anything that you said of too much concern, and I think they will be okay in conference tournament time. But you mentioned the biggest point. They played themselves out of a 1 seed. They're 2, maybe even a 3, depending on what they do in the tournament.
They could be. Well, Owen, the regular season is now over, which means it's about time to hand out some awards. The big one, of course, is the Wooden Award, which is given to the nation's best player. The ballot was narrowed down to 15 semifinals a couple days ago, with the winner being announced on April 10th. Owen, I got to ask you, who is your pick for the Wooden Award?
Mac, do not overthink this. It is simple. Roll with Iowa. Roll with Luka Garza. He is the best player in college basketball. It is the most outstanding player, and that is him. 24 points per game, 10 rebounds per game. Basically, this guy is a man amongst boys down low. 15 double-doubles and 5 30-point games this season. He elevates Iowa to levels that they would not be at without him. He's the reason they're a 20-win team.
Oh, and I have a little controversial take. So our producers wanted us to argue Obi Toppin versus Luka Garza. And I said, actually, I have a different guy. I'm going with Devon Dawson. He said most outstanding player. He's the most outstanding player on the most outstanding team. Kansas will be cutting down the nets in March as the national champions, as I predicted them before. Luka Garza will be out in the round of 32. Everyone will know Devon Dawson's name by the end of this tournament. But not only this tournament, this regular season. He's been their go-to guy. He's the engine that makes this team run. The Wooden Award is usually given to players on great teams. You saw Zion Williamson last year, Jalen Brunson year before that as well. So you look at Devon Dawson right now, best player on the best team. He is my pick.
Mac, let me rebuttal you a little bit here, Max, because what you see is you talk about the best player and a good team. This is an outstanding Kansas team, and they'd be good without him. You look at the other stats, Max. He is playing alongside the assist leader in the Pac-12 and the rebounding leader in the Pac-12 in Marcus Garrett and Udoka Azubuike. These unbelievable talents around him are the reason he's able to get to the levels he is. Luka Garza plays with no talent around him. He is the only reason Iowa is succeeding.
Devon Dawson is the best player in the Big 12. He's the best player in the country right now. He has higher win shares, box plus minus, and all the analytics stats that nobody likes to look at. They matter, okay? Nerds matter now in college basketball. Devon Dawson is the reason why Kansas is winning a national championship. Sure, without him, they'd still be a good team.
Yeah.
But with him, they're a national championship team. Without him, probably Sweet 16 or maybe even round of 32, like Luka Garza's Iowa team right now.
Don't get caught up on the analytics. Look at the simple stats. 24 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 15 double-doubles. Give it to Luka Garza. Coming up after the break, it's Bubble Watch. Max and I are joined by Mason Horodisky to break down who's in and who's out of the NCAA tournament. We're rolling on the No Pulp train, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back into the CitrusTV studio. I'm Owen Valentine, joined alongside Max Chadwick and special guest Mason Horodisky. Mason, great to have you on.
Well, I mean, it's great to be here, Owen. It's about time you guys had me on this show. I'm one of the founding fathers of No Pulp. It took you long enough.
Mason, great to have you back. And with Selection Sunday less than a week away, many teams are still awaiting their tournament fates. Let's get right after it. We've got 12 teams on the board. Who's in and who's out?
Well, for me, my first team is an absolute no-brainer, Max. I have to go with the team that, in my opinion, shouldn't even be considered a bubble team to begin with. Stanford.
Nope.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Nope.
This team is number 29 in the net rankings, higher than anyone you see on this list right over here right now, and they're catching fire right at the right time. They've won 4 of their last 6, and I know they had a bad loss to Oregon in their last game, but they made up for it with already splitting the series. This team has no business being a bubble team. They should already be in.
I'm going to go with another team. My first pick is a team that I also don't think should be a bubble team. I'm going to go with the Hoosiers of Indiana right now.
I don't know
Look,
about that, man.
Right now in strength of record, which is a stat I look at, the ESPN strength of record, which measures your resume, they're number 36, which is about a 9 seed right now. Yes, they're 19 and 12, but that's in the best conference in the country in the Big Ten. Also, they got some good wins in West Virginia, in Florida State, Michigan State, Maryland, and Ohio State. Indiana should be firmly in the tournament right now.
Firmly is a strong word, but for my next team, I'm going to have to go with a team that has a little bit of work to still do, I'm not going to lie, but extra emphasis on the little. I'm going with the NC State Wolfpack in this one. Look, I get it. This has been a tough year, to say the least, for the ACC. But they have made the most out of a bad situation and have been able to perform very, very well in a weak conference this year here in the ACC. Plus, luckily for them, like I said, they only need a little bit of work left to do. And that little bit of work is one game against Georgia Tech in the ACC tournament. They get that win, which I almost guarantee they will get that win, considering how bad Georgia Tech has been under the bright lights this year. I think that's theirs to win, and they're in.
They have a shot, but I think a team that's playing in a better conference in the ACC right now that deserves to be in is the Longhorns of Texas
no
right
way,
now.
not
Look,
at all.
again, they're 19 and 12, but again, they're playing in the Big 12, which is one of the best conferences in America right now. They beat West Virginia, beat Texas Tech, beat Purdue. I love defense. I'm a huge defense fan. This Longhorn defense is legit, and the Longhorns can make some noise in March Madness. So who's your third team?
Well, let's talk about a team that's made a lot of noise in years past in March Madness. Now, I'm going to go with Xavier. Look, for me, they had obviously a very tough loss in their last game against Butler. But there's a big difference between a tough loss and a bad loss. 1-point losses are not bad losses. I think that can be forgiven. And again, they're in a very similar spot to where NC State is right now, where if they can get one win in their respective tournament game when they have to play DePaul, again, should be a very easy win, then they have no business not being considered to be in March Madness. I think that they're going to make it once they get that win that they're obviously going to get.
So Mason, I hate to do this, but I'm going to kiss up to the judge right now. My next pick,
God, come on.
Owen.
Pander.
Rich what?
Richmond.
Richmond is my third team
Pander
right
pick.
now. 40th in strength of schedule, which is about a 10 seed right now. This time, though, a great record. Unlike these two teams, Indiana and Texas, 24-7 right now. Of course, not many great wins besides Wisconsin, who is the 1 seed right now in the Big Ten tournament. But when you're 24-7, you got to get in to March Madness.
I mean, yeah, but look at the conference they're playing in. So let's bring it back now to a real better conference than that, and a team that absolutely mollywopped one of your picks in their last game. I'm going with the Oklahoma State Cowboys, baby. Come on, 81-59 in that last game. They blew them out of the water, and in my opinion, they probably blew them out of contention to begin with. But obviously, Oklahoma State sitting at 17-14 right now. I think that's perfectly fine in their conference. Again, this is
Syracuse is 17-14, man.
But hey, look who they're playing in their first round of their tournament yet again, Iowa State. I think 17 is good enough, especially in a better conference in the ACC. You got to remember who Syracuse is playing against. If they beat Iowa State and get that 18th win, I don't see how the committee keeps an 18-win team out of the tournament like that.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to do that. My last team, though, is a team that we all love. That small school that we all love
I'll give you that one.
in March Madness. Give me the Shockers of Wichita State.
One.
Look, we know them. Every time in March, they are absolutely electric. Also, they're 23-8 right now, and we've seen what kind of damage they can do in March Madness. Not many chances for big wins in that conference, but the 33rd in strength of record, which is right now a 9 seed, Wichita State should definitely be allowed in because of what they've done this year and what they've done in previous March Madness tournaments.
No, I'll admit, I like your list, but mine's just better. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
I do. I think so. I got it.
Max and Mason, I've had some fun myself. I picked out 4 teams of my own. First of all, Cincinnati. I can't believe you both left them off your list. But you've got to take it back. I'll rank these last 3 out. Whoever gets 2 out of 3 takes down the prize. First and foremost, Max, Richmond was my second pick. That gives Max 1 point. Mason, I love Stanford. I think they're going to be a shoo-in for the tournament. That's tied at 1-1. Last but not least, Max, I love that Texas pick out of you. I'll give it to Max. 2-1. Slightly edges out Mason, although great points on both sides. But a lot of fun to have you with us, Mason. And coming up in 90 seconds, we stick with the tournament talk. But let's switch from teams on the bubble to teams that are straight up out. That is, unless they win a conference title. So stick with us. No Pulp's bid stealers await after the break.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it.
You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Welcome back. It's No Pulp. I'm Max Chadwick alongside Owen Valentine, breaking down everything you need to know about college hoops. Owen, we just talked about some teams who are on the bubble, meaning they are competing for at-large bids. Let's now talk about some teams who could steal some of those automatic bids by winning their conference tournaments. And to start with, North Carolina, a team that's usually guaranteed themselves a spot in the tournament by now. That's the North Carolina Tar Heels. They finished the season at 13-18, but have won 3 of their last 4. Owen, can they make a miracle run and win the ACC tournament?
Now, let's take it back a little bit. They played a lot of that season without Cole Anthony, and Cole Anthony solved some of their problems for North Carolina, but not even close to all of the issues that we've seen from the Tar Heels this year. We've talked about this before. This is not the typical Tar Heels team that you're used to seeing, and it's not a full team. It is really only Cole Anthony, and here and there he's getting that extra help. He can't do it all on his own, and I think that's why they're not going to be able to be the bid stealer. It's a tough route. Despite it being a down ACC, they have a tough route to the ACC tournament championship, and to win it, they got to go through a really hot Virginia. They've got to go through, Louisville as well, and then the winner of Duke, Florida State, theoretically on the other side. That's a really tough path. And Syracuse. That would be a fun one as well.
Look, everyone's saying they're so dangerous right now. I don't see it. I mean, look, they've won 3 of their last 4, but I mean, good for them, I guess. Look, like I said before, you just mentioned it. This is the most anti-UNC team I can remember. They're usually a great team, no really star player. This year, terrible team. 1 star player in Cole Anthony. And look, they lost by 17 to Louisville with Cole Anthony just a few weeks ago. That's who they're going to be playing if they beat Virginia Tech and Syracuse. I don't think they could beat the Cardinals and make it past them. I think they could beat Virginia Tech, they could beat Syracuse, but after that, I think they're done.
Yeah, it's a really tough route despite it being a down ACC. Next up, the 5 seed out of the AAC, Connecticut. The Huskies open up with Tulane and would face Wichita State if they win that opening round matchup.
They are getting hot right now. A 5-game win streak right now. If they beat Tulane on Thursday, they'll take on Wichita State in the quarterfinals, who they lost to, but in double overtime.
Yeah.
So UConn, they played close also with Houston, who's the favorite in that American Athletic Conference. I don't think that UConn will win the ACC, but we could see some Kemba Walker, Shabazz Napier type magic in these Huskies.
How awesome was that year? They could not lose a game, and that's exactly what you need to see. The best teams win the regular season, the hottest team win the conference tournament. I don't think that's UConn, though. I don't think they quite have it. They might be able to make a little bit of a run, but this is a better AAC than you might typically see. Not necessarily that much better, but I think Houston is going to be a tough matchup for them, and I don't know if they can take down Cincinnati. They played Wichita State close, but they did end up losing that one. It's going to be a tough route for them. I'm not sure if they can be a bid stealer, but I think they've got as good a chance as anyone to make that run.
I think they definitely have a shot. All right, finally, let's talk about Rhode Island. The Rams finished the season at 21-9, but Owen, Obi Toppin and the third-ranked Dayton Flyers stand in their way in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Do you think that Rhode Island could pull off the massive upset and take down Dayton?
Give me Rhode Island. Let's have some fun here. I think they can do it. It's going to be a tough route. I'll give them that. It will be a tough route for them to win this tournament, but they've got the potential. There is enough potential right there for them. They've won the games they should so far this season, and there's really only one bad loss on the schedule, and that was against Brown. Yes, a terrible loss, but that was the only fluke on the schedule. If the Rams can take down Richmond, I think they have a really good shot to beat a Dayton team who, although is really good record-wise, is not quite as good as that record might actually indicate.
Rhode Island's best player, his name is Fats Russell. And as much as I want to believe in a team that's led by a player with that name, I don't think that any team can get through the buzzsaw that is Dayton unless Obi Toppin gets buzzed up by some aliens or something like that. It's the only way that Dayton's not winning the Atlantic 10 tournament. The Rams look like a semifinal team in the A10, maybe even a final team, but as I keep mentioning before, the Dayton Flyers look like a Final Four, maybe even national championship caliber team. Rhode Island's just not even near that level.
Yeah, to change it a little bit to Dayton, I don't think they're that good, and I think that's why they're a good team. They're above average. This is their best season in a while. But when you look at Rhode Island, I think they have the potential, not necessarily because it's a great matchup or anything, but I think that Dayton is a little bit vulnerable in the tournament. They are where they are. Fats Russell, let's have some fun. Give me Rhode Island. Let's have some fun. You just had them in your sneaking into your bubble pick, so give them a little bit of credit and maybe let them win the A10.
All right, we just talked about which teams have the potential to win their conference tournaments, but coming up after the break, we'll tell you our picks for the winners of the 6 major conferences. Don't go anywhere.
And Max, as always, our final words, so run to the kitchen and grab some popcorn. The most important part of the show lingers on the other side.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. It's going to get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Welcome back to the final stretch of No Pulp. That's Max. I'm Owen. Conference tournaments are always a fun preview to the big dance. So Max, let's give our best predictions. 2 minutes on the clock. Rapid fire. Let's get things started with the ACC. And I'm going to go with a bit of a dog because they're a hot team right now. Let's roll with Virginia. I said it earlier.
Wow.
The best team wins the conference. The hottest team wins the conference tournament. And Virginia is the hottest team in the ACC.
They are hot, and I love that defense. But I'm going to go with Duke. The Blue Devils have been hot and cold, but so is the rest of the ACC. Duke is still the team to beat. Trey Jones won the Player of the Year, ACC Player of the Year. I think his teammate Vernon Carey actually deserve that award. That's the best duo in the ACC right now, so give me the Blue Devils.
So maybe be a semifinal matchup too.
Maybe. Let's go to the Big East right now, and Owen, I'm going with the favorite. I hate to do this. Creighton. The Blue Jays offense is one of the best in the country. They shoot the lights out. It's like Doug McDermott's on every player on that team right now. Third in Ken Palm's efficiency right now. But the Big East is a little bit top-heavy with Villanova and Seton Hall, so I think Creighton, though, will be the team to take the Big East tournament.
Give me Seton Hall. They just played earlier this week. It was a close game, but Creighton edges them out. I think Seton Hall gets their revenge in the tournament. Next up, the Big Ten, and it's a tough conference, but I got to roll with Michigan State here. I think they're too good of a team to not beat this, and they're getting hot right at the right time.
I agree with you. John Rothstein usually sends out a tweet that says January, February, Izzo, April, May, June. This is Tom Izzo's month. So give me the Spartans right now. Let's go to the Big 12 now. I got Kansas. They're my national champion right now. I just said Devon Dawson, best player in the country. Devon Dawson and Udoka Azubuike, the best duo in the country. Give me the Jayhawks.
I want it to be Baylor, but I got to roll with Kansas as well. I think they're too good right now. They've got too good a talent top to bottom. I think that's why they take down the championship. Pac-12, I've got a little bit of a funky one here. I'm going to roll with Arizona. I love Nico Mannion. I love Nico Mannion. Let's have him get hot, and let's have some fun in the Pac-12 dance.
Sabrina Ionescu is the star of this school, but I think Peyton Pritchard is also really good. Not too far behind. I think Oregon is a team to beat. Finally, though, SEC, I got the Wildcats Kentucky. I think it's an overrated conference, overrated Kentucky team, but they're going to win.
I'll roll with Kentucky. Our time has run out, but we're going to keep talking anyway because that's just the way it is. I like Kentucky. I think they're hot. I think that the beginning of the season was a bit of a fluke for them, and I think that they are, once again, you've got a lot of these teams getting hot at the right time, can make a lot of noise in their conference tournament, a lot of noise in the NCAA tournament. And with the college basketball regular season done and gone, conference accolades are starting to be released. With my final words today, I wanted to address the gift that Trey Jones received in ACC Player of the Year. For starters, I have nothing against Jones. He had a great season and was my pick for ACC Defensive Player of the Year, which he also received. However, he was not deserving of Player of the Year. Jones received the 4th most votes among ACC first-team selections, and I would contest that Vernon Carey, John Mooney, and Jordan Nwora, the 3 players receiving more votes for first team than Jones, are all more deserving of Player of the Year. We also need to keep in mind that teams can only nominate 1 player, which is why Jones didn't have to compete with Vernon Carey, who got the most first-team nods in the conference. This is a botch by the ACC and an utter disgrace to the seasons that Mooney, Nwora, and Carey all had.
And Owen, one senior who's wrapping up his career right now is Michigan State guard Cassius Winston, who played his final game in East Lansing on Sunday. Winston wraps up his career as one of the greatest Spartans ever. He won Big Ten Player of the Year last year and is the conference's all-team leader in assists. Perhaps nothing is more impressive, though, than the fact that he played this season after his brother took his own life back in November. His coach, Tom Izzo, said, quote, "I could not have done what he did." So Cassius, take a bow and go give everyone a march to remember.
Winston's such an inspiring player, and what he's done this season has been unbelievable.
Awesome. They're going to win the Big Ten tournament. I think they're going to be a really, really good team. Make it to the Final Four even as well.
Final Four. Give me a national champion before we get out of here.
Kansas, man. I mean, come on. Devon Dawson is my guy. I mean, we saw it before. This is the best team in the country, the best duo in the country with Dawson and Azubuike. I think they're going to win it all.
I want to contest you, but they are, as John Rothstein said in his podcast earlier today, they're the only team that kind of start to finish this season has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
They've had lulls a little bit, but they have always been right there. Give me a sleeper. Anyone that you think could jump off the radar?
I love Dayton, man.
Really?
Obi Toppin, that between the legs dunk he did was absolutely ridiculous.
So keep an eye out for Dayton in the conference tournament. Max and I agreeing on Kansas. That's all the time we have tonight. For more of our sports coverage, follow along with us at CitrusTV Sports on Twitter and find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. For Max Chadwick, I'm Owen Valentine. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a nice week.